Hey guys, today I just kind of want to break down my healing in one of these fights and talk about my decision-making process when it comes to Light of Dawn versus Word of Glory. The cooldown timings for this fight, at least from what I did, basically how I always use wings is I just wings the very first damage event, because wings is more of a rotational cooldown than like an actual CD that you want to map out. You pretty much always just want to wings the first instance of damage. So even though this first one, like right here, this spray, it's not going to do a huge amount of damage to our raid group, but that really doesn't matter. I just want to get wings rolling, so that way I can have wings come up earlier in the fight, because there's the next wings usage I want to use during the transition, and that's only up if I cast it here at the start. So I pop wings and instantly, like you'll see, this damage event is so small, nobody's dropping below 90% health, right? So here, if I'm pressing Eternal Flame, 90% of that Eternal Flame is being completely wasted, right? It's just like there's no point in even pressing Eternal Flame, because it would just all be overhealing. But if I'm Light of Dawning, I'm at least getting value from the Light of Dawn, because it's healing people at 90% to 10, but it's healing 5 people at 90% to 10 instead of 1 person from 90% to 10. Okay, so right here, now you're gonna see me start Eternal Flaming, because we have 4 people that are taking damage. And right there, you'll see 1 person dropped to like 60%. I know that when that damage event is coming out, you're going to see these 4 people get targeted. So this is a perfect time to use Word of Glory, right? Because your entire raid is pretty much healthy, but there's just a select few people that are injured. So this is when you'd want to use Eternal Flame. So you'll see I toss out 2 Eternal Flames there. But now if you look at the raid group, you'll see that everybody's healthy again, right? Like everyone's pretty evenly damaged, and they're all at like 80%, or at least they were like 1 frame ago. So again, now you should be Light of Dawning. And okay, but now we're gonna take some big single hits. So with this damage pattern, you have 2 people that are pretty injured. So if I'm playing right, I should be going down to Youth, and then I should be pressing Eternal Flame. I didn't actually have enough Holy Power for it, so instead I used my Holy Shocks. And then right here, we have 3 people injured. So again, this would be a perfect time to use Eternal Flame, and should not be on my beacon target, obviously. So I'm you know, spot healing the mages here, which is funneling into my beacon. And then I'm going to spend my Holy Light, because I don't have enough Holy Power for another Eternal Flame. Now we're just building again and waiting for the next AoE. But here you'll see our tank drops a little bit low, and he's got red stagger on, so I'm just going to spend my Word of Glory on the tank to just get him topped up. And then I'm going to hold... Oh, wow. He's dropping a lot. So I just keep funneling all my Holy Power straight into him. Again, this should all just be Eternal Flame here, because there's only 1 or 2 people injured. So perfect time for Eternal Flames. This fight is a nice mix of AoE healing and single target healing. This is a damage event right here where you'd be tempted to Eternal Flame, but you would get a shit ton of overhealing if you Eternal Flamed here. So instead, with everybody at about 80% health, this is the perfect time to Light of Dawn. So you'll see all I'm going to be doing here is just spamming Light of Dawn, just generic AoE healing, and only spending my Eternal Flame because I get the Judgment proc. So we're in transition now. So this is a good time to start spot healing, because this is when, if your raid is ever like below 50% health, that's generally a good time to start spot healing instead of AoE healing, because you're going to want to prioritize the lowest health people. But if your raid is like above 50 or 60% health in general, and everyone is kind of evenly damaged, that's Light of Dawn, right? So here, people are low enough that spot healing is going to be more valuable. So I should be looking at Zico, which I do, and just spot healing with Eternal Flame. I'm going to use my Empowered Holy Shocks to keep spot healing. Right here, I opt for Light of Dawn, because you'll see everybody is relatively healthy, above 60% health. The only person really in danger might be Spaggy, but he's not really that much in danger, because there's no more damage events happening. So at this point, I'm just going to be noted die to Swirly. Yeah, good plan. So this is all just generic AoE healing, because nobody is really too injured here to care about like spot healing, so it should all just be generic AoE Light of Dawn. Again, the whole raid is very evenly damaged, so spot healing not super important. I'm gonna send my Holy Prism, and then just start Light of Dawning to make sure I get full value out of my Holy Power. And then we're just going to go back into building phase. Here is where we're going to have a bunch of people take single target damage. This is where I'm going to look to start Eternal Flaming, right? Because the raid is healthy, but only a few people are injured. So I'm going to start trying to use my, you know, empowered Holy Shocks and my Word of Glories. And we're really just focused on single target healing. That right there was a good example of choosing between Light of Dawn versus Word of Glory in the moment. So the whole raid gets injured here. So Light of Dawn would get full value, but we have somebody at like 20% health. If anyone's ever below 40% health or so, you just need to single target spot heal them and not worry about AoE healing. I generally prism the boss. Prisming single target isn't bad, but it's just not generally super worth. Here again, this is going to be 4 people being single target hit instead of AoE hit. Despite the raid being reasonably damaged and AoE Light of Dawn would get good value, we're going to look to Eternal Flame instead because we want to make sure that the people who are lowest health are, you know, in safety. If I was really paying attention, I would have seen that ice cold right there and not worried about spot healing him. But the only other person I would have spot healed in that moment would be Zico. And Zico already had Renewing Blaze plus Scales running, so honestly, not really a big deal. This would be a good spot to Light of Dawn, right? Because the entire raid is pretty much evenly injured. So Light of Dawning right here is definitely going to get you a lot of value of just like generic AoE healing. There's no one person that's in a lot of danger here, right? Normally you have to worry about like who is in the most danger, but there's nobody specifically in danger here. So I'm probably just going to Light of Dawn. Yeah, okay, so I Light of Dawn there, and then I send another Light of Dawn? Yeah, a second Light of Dawn. Okay, now we have 3 people who are injured. I've got my beacon on the hunter. So my best use, because Duckboy here has enraged regen going on. So my best use of Word of Glory would be on Smaggy. It looks like he health potted. So instead I'm just going to heal my beacon target, which isn't always the best, but you know, it's not the end of the world. And then I sent a bunch of my Holy Power there for just generic AoE healing when everybody was above 80%. Now we're just back to single target healing, and then it's going to be transition soon. So this is actually one of the scariest spots in Mythic because during this transition, a lot of people are taking heavy single target damage. So you're going to see me pop wings and just start to blast single target heals. So I pop wings and then you're just going to see me spam Holy Shock and and Word of Glory. I'm using it on myself there because I want to make sure that I'm safe first. It's always most important that you stay alive, especially when you're in wings. If somebody else dies, it's okay. But not if you die. I tried to save Duckboy there, but unfortunately couldn't. Yeah, my decision making here was Word of Glory myself. Then I went and healed DT. Here I should probably look to heal. I tried to heal Duckboy, but I couldn't. So instead I top you for a second, and then I'm going to spend my Word of Glory on DT here. Then I'm going to Holy Prism for AoE healing because we're about to all soak this, so I need to make sure everybody's as topped as they can be. I'm looking for the person in danger from this hit, right? I know that a big hit is coming, and I know that everybody is soaking. So everybody needs to be at least above like 70% health. So in this moment, I'm looking, okay, who in the raid is most in danger at this particular moment? And so I see, okay, Jalen has a shield. Everybody else has relatively high health. Obviously, the person in danger is going to be Excel. So I want to make sure that I get a Word of Glory on him before this hit goes off. First, I'm going to Light of Dawn just to get some more generic AoE healing because I know that I can get one more global off before the soak hits. And then we're going to hit Excel right here. Boom. Okay. Everybody's safe. We're happy. Now we're back to generic AoE healing with Light of Dawn. And here I'm just going to build my Holy Power. So I procced my Awakening, but there's no actual like big damage event to heal yet. So I'm just going to keep building my Holy Power and topping the tanks. Okay, now the damage goes out, so I'm looking to Eternal Flame the 3 people that just got hit because I want to make sure that they're healthy. We're going to have 4 individuals get hit by this. So again, that's all just going to be single target healing. But now we have the big raid AoE. So now we're going to look to probably AoE heal. I have 3 Holy Powers, so I'm going to want to spend that probably on another Eternal Flame on Falari here because he is unusually in danger. But it could just be Light of Dawn, and then I'm going to Divine Toll, and then follow that up with another Light of Dawn. And that's going to give me a ton of AoE coverage to kind of top the group while this spray is happening. So it looks like I did opt for Light of Dawn because somebody else had a big single target heal on Falari. And then I'm going to use my Divine Toll. Now we're all topped. Nobody's really in danger, so I'm just going to sit here. I kind of hold my globals for a few seconds. And then wait until this next damage event. So that way when this big damage event happens with all these single target people, I have 5 Holy Power and I have Empyrean Legacy procced. And I have Holy Prism. So I have Empowered Holy Shocks. I have literally so much healing power that I am banking, waiting for this damage event to happen. So as soon as this goes out, boom, we look for the person that got the most injured. It's going to be Chur. We're going to toss a big Eternal Flame on him. Then we're going to spend our triple Holy Shock Empowered procs. Then we're going to look for another person to Eternal Flame. It should probably be Duck Boy, but I'm going to Holy Prism first. It looks like I'm opting for Falari. I should have opted for Duck Boy, but he does have Bark Skin, so... Okay, Duck Boy ended up dying. So yeah, that's something you got to watch for. You always just need to be hyper aware of like everybody that is in danger. And every single second of a fight, you should be thinking, okay, what's the next? You should always be playing one step ahead. What's the next step? What's the next person that is going to be in danger? Like, I'm already committed to this global. What's the next global I'm going to be spending? So you should always be trying to think one step ahead so that you're never lagging behind. So like already I should be looking at Zico and being like, how can I get... And so you see my mouse cursor go down to Zico. And then the next person I should be looking at would be Spaggy, right? I've already committed my global to Zico. I know I'm going to use this Holy Light. So my brain should already be moving on to the next thing. Who's the next person that's most in danger? That's kind of the main thing that I wanted to go over, was just like, you'll see in all my logs that I use here, I'll show you guys some logs. So you'll see in all my logs that I use like a big difference between, okay, so here is... So you see, I had 100 million healing from Light of Dawn on my Olgrax, and I had 55 million from Eternal Flame. So under my cast breakdown, you can see I cast 71 Light of Dawns, and I cast 44 Eternal Flames. Now, if we're looking at that boss that we just did, it looks like I had slightly more Eternal Flames than Light of Dawns, but again, pretty even in terms of like which one I cast more of. The key to Hpal in Raid right now and effective healing as Hpal in Raid is making sure that you use your whole kit. You don't just want to use Eternal Flame. Exclusively using one type of heal and not realizing that different damage events call for different types of heals is a big mistake that I see almost everybody making right now. A lot of people are heavily leaning into Eternal Flame because of Virtue, and I get that. However, first off, I don't think Virtue is even as good as people are making it out to be. People highly exaggerate the value of Virtue, and it's actually quite frustrating for me because almost exclusively I see Virtue logs, right? And I understand the power of Virtue. I understand what makes Virtue strong, but it comes at a lot of costs. One thing I want to show you guys is, let's look at this fight, right? Let's look at mana gained by... Brahms. So I want you guys to look at this. Do you see our Resto Shaman's mana during this fight, during Olgrax? This is his sleep pot, and this is how much mana I was able to give him from Blessing of Winter. I gave him almost two extra sleep pots worth of mana from giving him my Blessing of Winter, which means that he was allowed to pump way more healing than he would have been able to normally, right? Because normally he would be, what, 500,000 mana in the hole? And he would have had to stop healing like a while ago. He would have had to stop healing at like the 5-minute mark. But with my Winter, I was able to sustain him for a lot longer. And I gave him multiple Winter casts. And the only reason I was able to give him multiple Winter buffs was because I wasn't taking them myself. If I was playing Virtue here, I would absolutely have had to take those Winters myself because Virtue eats up a ton of mana. I think that people don't really see the value of being able to Winter other healers. Like, gaining so much mana efficiency on your own allows you to provide a ton of resources to other healers that you wouldn't be able to normally. And so you have to be gaining a lot of healing and a lot of quality healing from Virtue in order to make it worth dropping Faith to take Virtue, because you're also losing so much Blessing of Winter power, so much mana power for other healers. And I think that's absolutely just lost on a lot of people, and very, very, very undervalued. Now, I'm not saying, don't take this wrong, I'm not saying that Virtue is just a bad talent and you should never take it. Absolutely not. Virtue has its place, and Virtue is a good talent in many situations. But in general, it's super overvalued right now, and people are purely looking at HPS and not looking at effective HPS, which is, you know, which talent is not only going to bring more targeted healing, but also the ability to increase the HPS of your other healers by a significant amount. Mana is no joke for you know, Disc Priest, for Resto Druid, for Resto Shaman. A lot of these other healers are struggling heavily with mana, and Holy Paladin has the ability to make our mana consumption look like this. We have the ability to make our mana consumption look like this and provide other healers with our main mana management resource, i.e. basically if a Resto Druid was able to give their Innervate to other healers, right? And for some reason, that's just like severely overlooked by a large majority of the player base, and I don't really understand why. I understand, like, but my logs, I get that, but there are a ton of reasons why Virtue is actually a hindrance to your progression as a guild, and it's very frustrating for me that I try to talk about it, but people don't always, you know, hear me out, and people are like, oh, but it's not the highest HPS. Like, I get it. But even that, like, it's not the highest HPS. Like, is that true? I'm not sure that's always true. Is it great for sniping? Yes. But there's a lot of value to come from Faith, and the fact that I was able to pull a rank 1 HPS parse on top of the fact that I was running Faith and giving all of my mana to our Resto Shaman, people are severely overvaluing Virtue.